Hello, everyone. My name is Dominic Demore, and I want to thank you all for tuning into the second, possibly third best thing you hear all week. We have a great show for you today that includes a film review of
Hands of Stone.
Hands of Stone, a movie.
Clever title.
It was based off of the life of famed Panamanian boxer Roberto Duran and his trainer,
Ray Arcel.
Yes, Ray Arcel, played by Robert De Niro, and Duran himself is played by
Edgar Ramirez.
That is also true. Of Bourne Ultimatum fame, what else have we got for him? Point Break infamy.
Wrath of Titans, Joy.
Didn't see Joy. You see Joy?
Nope, it is on my list though.
Yeah, I didn't hear great things
The Counselor.
about it. Wow, this guy's got a shitty
Zero Dark 30.
All right,
And a bunch of Spanish title movies.
Yeah. So the film follows the career of the legendary boxer. From his humble beginnings as a poor boy in Panama to ultimately his success, his fights with Sugar Ray Leonard, and then finally his comeback. So, James, how about some positives on your end about Hands of Stone?
Didn't know this would be that difficult. I wrote down all negatives.
You got anything positive? You were the one walking...
Edgar Ramirez's wife is extremely attractive.
You were the one walking out of the movie that were like, wasn't as bad as I thought.
I thought it was going to be a lot worse.
I was the one ripping it, and I got the impression that you didn't mind it.
Yeah, but then we started talking about it, and there are a lot of problems with it. I thought Robert De Niro was okay.
Yeah, he didn't quite phone it in. I just think there was nothing special about the role.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's entirely his fault either.
Yeah. I guess...
he played an old Jewish guy pretty well.
Yeah, and there's a subplot which I assume is true, because it's a fairly big one, and I would think that it's been talked about around boxing circles, but his character was run out of boxing by the mafia because he wanted to take boxing worldwide and show it on television and everything. The mafia did not want that because they wanted to be focused on New York, only New York, where they could control it. So he basically had an assassination attempt on him. He lived, and they're like, all right, we're not going to kill you, but you're never allowed to make another dime on boxing. That was an interesting story point that they touched on briefly, but it would have been much more intriguing if he would have had a bit more of a back and forth on it. Like, his wife tries to talk him out of it, but if he could have been like, I don't want to die, but this kid is going to be great. If there would have been a little bit more emotion on that end, I probably would have enjoyed this movie a little bit more. It would have been more fleshed out at that point, because realistically, we got one arc in this movie, and it wasn't a great arc to begin with.
That's a good point. I thought of another positive as you were speaking.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they made some decisions to keep certain parts of the film, of the story in there that are probably not the best for movie purposes, but they are true to the story, so they kept them in there, and I kind of respect them for that.
Like what? Can you name one?
The whole Robert De Niro's daughter, that probably didn't need to be in the film, but I think it is an important part in the story that needed to be listed for his last fight, that De Niro wasn't in his corner. And then the children boxing, like the children's street boxing, that probably didn't need to be in the film, but I'm sure it was an important part in the upbringing of Edgar Ramirez, Edgar Ramirez, his character.
Roberto Duran.
Roberto Duran. Same guy.
Yeah, sure. Just jumble up a few letters.
First and last names.
For me, positives, you briefly touched on it before in a fairly joking manner, but I thought Ana de Armas, who we talked about last week in our review of War Dogs, I thought she did a decent job. I didn't think it was amazing, and part of me just wonders if she is so beautiful that you kind of forget if she does anything bad, because you can get lost in her eyes. She's got giant eyes, and they're such a cool color.
Definite possibility.
Yeah. I thought she did a decent job. She was a bit all over the place. Didn't quite understand her reasoning for certain things and her behavior. And sometimes it feels like she was kind of just in it for the money. And then times it felt like she really loved her husband. And then other times it felt like she didn't give a crap about poor people, and then at other times it's like, oh, viva la Panama.
Yeah. A lot of mixed emotions from her.
A little bit, but overall I thought she was solid. She's certainly no Adrian, but she can pass for Rachel McAdams. That's a Southpaw reference for all of you. Another awful boxing movie, but yeah, to each their own. Jimmy liked it more than I did.
I did like Southpaw.
Because he's an idiot.
Minus Gyllenhaal's accent. Completely ruined a lot of things.
Yeah, it really did. Okay, with that being said, we'll head into the positive, or into the negative, sorry. Ramirez's accent didn't do a whole lot for me. I get that it was probably accurate to how he spoke, and he didn't speak perfect English, and by no means was it like completely broken up to where it's Benicio del Toro in half of the movies he's ever done, where it's like, the hell did he just say? Like, I don't know, but it sounded good.
Yeah.
It just, part of me wonders if, like, it would have cleaned it up a bit more, if this movie would be more relatable, I guess, to the mass audience, especially, like, domestically. Like, I bet this movie, obviously, is probably going to do well in most Latin countries, stuff like that. But if you wanted to make the budget back, which, to be fair while I'm talking, look up what the budget is for Hands of Stone. So that would have probably helped me a little bit more. And part of me wishes he would just, instead of using the accent, maybe just talk in Spanish the entire time. Like, I would not mind reading everything he said, as opposed to having so many of those, like, oh, I don't want him to say that.
See, I don't really mind the broken English. I think I'm just kind of used to it, because my grandparents have had broken English all my life, and it just felt normal to me. Mm-hmm. And I usually can pick up on certain words, and that helps kind of gather what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. So that wasn't too big of a deal for me, but the budget was $20 million.
Not awful. I mean,
that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty decent. Like, that's a controlled thing, especially because it's not. It was like 800 theaters that made a little under 2 million. So not a horrible number. It did what, like probably 2,000, 3,000 a theater, which is okay.
2,100.
2,100. Yeah, so not
810 theaters and 1.7.
Yeah, so not horrible numbers on that return. Once they go wide, they'll definitely make their money back, because this movie is probably going to be a fairly successful, especially in Spanish-speaking countries or major countries who are still into boxing, stuff like that. So probably a little bit of Eastern Europe and stuff like that. And as much as I probably come off on like an asshole, be like, oh, I hate the broken English. It's just something that kind of took me out of the movie. What about you? How about one of your negatives?
The boxing scenes.
Yeah,
they were awful. They were way too choppy. Mm-hmm. Too many cuts, and multiple times they'd cut to like a punch, and then you look at his wife, or then you look at De Niro, or then you look at the other person's corner, mm-hmm. and it just didn't flow at all. And it kind of aggravated me, because it was too much to focus on.
Yeah. It took a boxing movie and just turned it into a drama, as opposed to elevating a good boxing movie to like doing what Creed did, to where there are some amazing boxing scenes in that movie, but it's also
probably the best ever.
Probably, yeah, pretty close. I mean, I like that movie Undisputed with Ving Rhames and Wesley Snipes. I think they have some pretty good boxing scenes in there, but it's a little different. Probably, yeah, it goes to Creed. Like that one take shot early on in, I think, his first pro fight. Not the one down in Mexico, the one that he wins.
Yeah.
And that was all in one take, and that one's really good. So I'd agree with you there. I agree with you. I hated all of the boxing scenes. They did do two cool shots where they had the camera set up on a rail system, and they pulled out, and they did like a sweeping shot across the floor, and you kind of saw the scope of the building. I don't know if you remember those.
I don't remember.
They did it twice. That was a very cool shot for me, but overall, yeah, it kind of sucked.
I also felt like the movie, like you said before, it tried to be more than, it was more of a drama than about the boxing, and I think they could have done a better job of tying in the character development with the boxing, opposed to kind of doing two separate things or lacking on the boxing part.
Yeah.
Usher also sucked.
Well, it felt like they gave him nothing to do. Like, he only had, maybe like 5 lines of dialogue.
That may have been for a reason.
Probably, yeah. He probably wasn't very good. And like you said, I think when we walked out, probably just because he looked the part. And yeah. Speaking of Usher not doing very well, 2 fairly big sex scenes in this movie. Both of them are absolutely pointless.
Yeah.
The first one, I guess it was to show off the love, maybe, / just to say, hey, they had sex, now they can have a kid. The second one involving Usher and / Sugar Ray Leonard and his wife, who James and I felt very old when we learned that, when we figured out that she was in the movie Jack with Robin Williams. Their sex scene is utterly pointless. There is absolutely no reason for it at all. So,
yeah, I mean, the movie could have easily been PG-13, and it probably would have been, or at least made more money.
Probably, yeah. So there's a lot of issues with this movie. I personally, I had a very tough time with it, the entire thing. So with that, if you don't have anything else, we'll head into our ratings.
Is De Niro's daughter in this movie?
Didn't know De Niro had a daughter.
I think that is.
Is it the heroin addict?
Yeah. Trina De Niro.
What do you know?
She was also in Joy and the Intern.
That makes sense.
Learn something new every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's time for the ratings.
All right, I will go first, so Jimmy can get an idea of what I'm going to do, so he can make up his own number after I say mine.
Exactly.
I am going to go, and this is also on the fly, and I haven't written my review, which you will be able to find on www.ihbpodcast.com. So that is totally could change. It's probably not going to, but I am going to go a 4.4 out of 10 apples.
I can't go that bad.
I felt no chemistry between the main actors. I didn't think De Niro brought anything special to the role. I thought the overall story, while it's an interesting story. Duran's got an interesting story. I just thought the way it was told was sketchy. The cinematography was really rough. I didn't particularly like the dialogue that all the characters were using. It felt over the top at times, and then at other times, I didn't understand why a character was changing their morals all of a sudden. So for me, I didn't enjoy myself at this movie at all. Like, it was only an hour and 45 minutes, and I kept sitting there like, okay, is it gonna end soon? Like, we're almost done, right?
That was another thing that was really weird about it. Just I had no clue when it was gonna end. Yeah. There were multiple times like, all right, it could possibly end here. Oh nope. Cut into another scene.
Yeah. So what did I say? 4.4?
Yeah.
Sticking to it.
Yeah, no, that's not as bad as I thought it was when you initially said it. I'm going with a 4.7.
4.7?
Yeah.
What'd you give Suicide Squad?
4.9.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what I had to double check on. Because some of the other movies I gave really bad numbers to were Ninja Turtles and Independence Day was a 3.5 and Ninja Turtles was a 4. Mm-hmm. So that helps put it in perspective.
This was definitely better than Independence Day.
Yeah, and it was better than Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
So 4.7 just because of the movie not really knowing what direction to go. They tried to do too many things in a short hour 45.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If they would have given a little bit more character development besides to Roberto Duran, it probably would have been a better movie, but it's a one character arc, and that's pretty much it. They tried to force one in with De Niro, with the daughter, as we said earlier, but they don't take it anywhere. And
if it was developed more, it would have been better.
Yeah, like you introduce that in the first act of the movie and let it progress, sure. But the fact that they kind of shoehorn it in the last 20 minutes, is not a very good movie.
Yeah,
I don't recommend going seeing it at the theater.
No.
All right, but if you did go see it at the theater, and the odds that you were are not very good because of how few theaters and how little money it made so far. But let us know in the comment section below. I want to thank you all for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, please like us right down there with a little thumbs up. Also, share this episode with your friends. Subscribe to the I've Had Better Podcast Network on YouTube. Also, you can follow us on Twitter at IHB Podcast, and on Facebook, go like the I've Had Better Podcast page. James, tell the people where you reside on the interweb.
You can follow me on Twitter at @the_Kaiser_Soze, or on Facebook as Jimmy Langos. And don't forget to check out the website, www.ihbpodcast.com. And please subscribe and listen to our iTunes feed. And you can find that by searching IHB Movies. IHB podcast and I've Had Better podcast.
Jesus, folks, he nailed it. He came in a little sketchy on the landing, but we got him in. Like, that was impressive.
Both feet were on the ground.
Yes, well done. I'm not saying you got the gold, like you're not Simone Biles,
No,
but
I'll gladly take a bronze on that one.
I am Dominic Demore, and you can follow me on Twitter at Dom Demore. That's DOMDEMORE, or on Facebook as Dominic Demore. James, how's your show today?
Yeah, I've had better.
Good night, everybody.